Sony, you might as well stay away from comic books. I think it's time. Other than Spider-Man. Morbius was directed by Daniel Espinosa, the guy that gave us Safe House some years back and the only other film of his that I actually liked, and stars Jared Leto and Matt Smith. And it tells the story of Michael Morbius, who tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but instead infects himself with something that turns him into a vampire. What's up, guys? Welcome to my Morbius review. Thank you so much for taking the time and effort to click this video. Now, Morbius is another one of those characters that I've never heard of. So I was not quite sure what I was to expect of this film. The trailer of this popped up, I believe, days before the pandemic started and everything started shutting down. And of course, it's one of those that's been delayed, not only because of the pandemic, but after everything reopened, it still got delayed. Like a whole year. It's been delayed so many times I can't even count. Now, like I said, I've never heard of this character. It is a Marvel character. I swear, ever since the Infinity Saga has stopped with the MCU, they've been coming out with all these Marvel characters that I've never heard of. Shang-Chi, Eternals, and now Morbius. God knows what's next. Was this really worth it, though? Did this blow my mind? Or did it suck? So let's get into the positives of Morbius. This is not the worst I've seen. This is not the worst comic book adaptation I've seen. That is held by Fantastic from 2015. Fantastic Four. That one was the dumbest, the weakest, and one I'm hoping I'll never, ever have to review on this channel. Please don't make me. At least with Morbius, it was trying. Keyword, trying. And it was trying to be good. And that's mostly due to the action, which Fantastic Four 2015 had serious lack of. But Morbius took a bite. It had pretty cool moments. It was pretty tense. The scenes, especially with the slow motion capture of Jared Leto and Matt Smith fighting, that was pretty iconic. Whenever Morbius would fly, and just in the all-around action sequences when they would fight, that actually looked pretty iconic. And it was pretty pulse-pounding, and it was edge of your seat. Yeah, I really did appreciate that aspect of this film. And the special effects wasn't bad either. It was pretty gripping. Like I said, the slow-motion capture of Jared Leto up in the air flying and fighting with Matt Smith, who is actually the villain of this, it was pretty riveting. It was pretty cool. I actually wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was with that aspect of the film. And for my final positive, I'm going to have to break this down into two, and I'll explain why later. But speaking of Matt Smith, I thought he did a really good job as the villain. You know, he plays Morbius' best friend, you know, his childhood, growing up. They both have the same rare blood disease. But when his villainous side comes out, it was pretty believable. He was cold, calculating. Again, I've said this many times, he was a villain that I enjoyed watching. He's just one of those villains that I, anyway, rooted for. I really dug him as the villain, and his actions spoke louder than words, like that saying goes. However, and let's dive into the negatives, we're still on Matt Smith. And I could have put this in the mix, but I found more enjoyment out of him than negatives. The negative aspect of this character, his motive, there wasn't really much there. It was kind of weak. There is one aspect of his motive, why he wants the cure. But after that, the movie sort of loses track of that. And there's not really much there in terms of why he's doing what he's doing, why he turns evil, why he kills all these people. It's just nothing really cohesive there. There's no grand plan. There's no world domination. There's nothing really big to try to get you enticed. And it really didn't do anything for me. I'm sticking with the positive aspect of this character. But I can't ignore the fact that they didn't really give much of a motive to this character. As much as I liked him as the villain, motive really dropped the ball there. And that really falls upon character development. Now, I could say that the editing may have something to do with it as well, because, as I said, this movie was delayed several times, but I'll get to that later. But the character development, really lackluster. I mean, you find out that these two guys have been best friends since childhood, but you don't really get to care that much because you don't really see that much on-screen time with them. There's that little thing at the beginning, and then after that, it's just whoosh back in the present, and like, okay, so we're there now. Okay, whatever. Yeah, move on. Let's just hope there's something cohesive. Sadly not. But you just don't get enough screen time to care. And it just changes in the blink of an eye. Before you know it, it's, oh, we're already there. Okay, yeah, whatever. Okay. And that also falls heavily on the direction. This movie didn't really seem like it knew where it wanted to go. You remember those early 2000 comic book movies? That's kind of what this reminded me of. Daredevil, Hulk, Elektra, the Jessica Alba version of Fantastic Four. That's kind of what this reminded me of. Although it still fared well in certain aspects, it still had its moments. This would have made more sense if this had come out around then instead of now. And it felt pretty much outdated for that reason alone. It just crashed too many times. And especially with the editing, because this has a lot to do with it too. Because this movie was delayed so much, I feel like the editing was done a little bit too premature. You're ending up with a movie that's kind of not explanatory at all. And it doesn't really help the fact that the direction just keeps on moving and shifting. It felt jumbled. It didn't really feel as cohesive. There wasn't really that much of a meaning towards it, like most superhero movies does, especially with the MCU. And as I say about the editing, there was certain things that I've heard about this to where, okay, was this really tie in with the Spider-Man universe? Yes and no. Not as much as you think. Judging by what the trailer showed, you could tell that there was a lot of things edited out. Why? I don't know. Probably studio interference. Either that or it just felt like Sony was trying to get this out as quick as possible. And damn the editing. It's like they didn't really care. There were certain things that happened in this movie that the trailer showed more of. And that there was more of a reason for you to believe that Spider-Man was a part of it. But they did keep some aspects in it. But just not all of it. And it just felt like, what the hell were they trying to do? I mean, is this connected or not? The editing was a little jumbled. So much so that we end up with a climax that's over so fast and so quick that by the time the end credits roll, you're left hanging faster than John McClane off the Nakatomi building. And you're left staring at the screen saying, okay, did that just happen? Is this really it? Okay, I guess it's time to leave. And that's another thing. Without giving too much away, there are 2 post-credit scenes. And it just felt 2-3 years ago that you're thinking, okay, why the hell are they doing this? They already pretty much fixed all of what they said in this film in Spider-Man No Way Home and at the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. When you see the post-credit scenes of this, you'll be thinking, what the hell are they doing? I didn't think that they were going this route, but okay, oh well, whatever. Which proving once again that this movie feels outdated. It's just little things like that kind of agitated me. You can definitely tell that the film was rushed. It just felt so generic. And like I said, it just felt like a movie that could have benefited coming out 20 years ago than now. And some of the other characters didn't really make sense. Like there's these 2 cops played by Tyrese Gibson, which is an actor that I love. He was awesome in the Fast and Furious franchise. Tyrese Gibson and Al Madrigal, who felt so throwaway-ish that you're wondering why these characters were added in the first place. They play the 2 cops that are investigating all these murders that the vampires are creating, or the one vampire. But every time they're on screen, the characters just felt so throwaway-ish. They just wasn't irrelevant. And Jared Leto, God bless him, I wasn't quite buying his character. Throughout the whole entire film, he's this guy that has this blood disease, this rare blood disease that'll kill him. I mean, he was literally at death's door. He was getting ready to die. And yet after he's cured, he still has the same voice, the same sad sack about him, where he does like, yeah, just move this stuff over here, leave that there, and I'll get the rest. That's all you hear from him. So you'd think he'd be more rejoiced, at least. Before you find out what he's capable of, you think he'd be like more rejoiced. He's more immortal than ever. He gets to live forever. So just saying, give us something. And then after he gets cured and he's no longer on death's list, his attitude doesn't really show it. Give me something instead of just being this sad sack throughout the entire film. I mean, you're basically immortal now. Enjoy it just a little. Just vomit it up if you can. That's why I didn't really buy into this character. It's like, he wasn't trying. And there was a bunch of jokes that I felt that was so misplaced. Like the one scene that it showed in the trailer where he has this tight grip on this one bad guy and he actually quotes Venom. And he says, "I am Venom." It's nothing like what the trailer showed. It's way different. The way it was executed in the movie itself, again, poor editing. I don't know why they decided to go this route. And even if they didn't, even if they chose to go the trailer route, it still would have been a little awkward, but it would have been at least watchable. All in all, guys, this is not the worst comic book film out there. Believe me. Morbius definitely had its moments. Just don't expect too much. Don't expect something grand. You can have it on in the background and have a party or something with friends and family and just let loose. But it's not nothing that you need to add to your bucket list. It's not something that if you miss it, you'll just die as a part of your cinematic history loss. So if you're a fan of vampires or comic book vampires, you might want to temper your expectations a little bit and just hell out for Blade or Underworld because you will get caught off guard. So Morbius, have you seen it yet? What did you think of it? Are you a fan of this film? Have you ever heard of this comic book character? Were you at all excited? Was this to your liking? Or was this a disappointment? Was this one that you can easily forget altogether? Leave me your comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Like, subscribe, comment, and share the big four. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.